So shoot in the comments what belt you are, whether you're training, if you're at an academy, is it open, or are you guys just doing privates? I have a couple academies that are open and other academies that are doing privates. My academy is not open, but I think that everyone has a fight club. They're just like, oh, no training, and then a lot of people have fight club. But the first rule is you don't talk about fight club. So we have our teacher training coming up, which I'm really excited about. So it is in the middle of April, actually, April 17th. And the registration is almost full, and it's been really cool because there's been a lot of people emailing through and just asking about it. And even with the homework entails, and like the homework entails just a ton of yoga, and the teacher training entails learning how to teach proper warm-ups, cool-downs, and then full classes. So a lot of academies are even adding that to or a lot of instructors are adding that to their academies. So, and I had one call yesterday and we're talking about, so this guy's been, in the service for quite a few years, like almost 2 decades, and how beat up his body is. And he's like, I want to do jiu-jitsu, but I'm just so beat up. And so we had a really good talk about the yoga for BJJ warm-up and how it starts really slow. And probably my favorite part is starts slow and then it goes to being more and more, but also really targets the areas of the body that are so commonly left behind, like the lower back. How often are we like, okay, I'm going to strengthen the lower back, or I'm going to bring blood flow to the lower back? People don't really do that. So not often we think of our warm-ups, we're like, let's get into wrestling right away. So just that maintenance it's so great, so important. It's even the warm-up, I love it. I love it. All right, crew, send me any questions. And how's everyone feeling today? Are you guys feeling tight? Are you feeling like champions? Has all you've done is yoga for the last year? No, I'm just kidding. No one's done yoga well, actually, some people have. So yeah, send any questions in, any comments, anything like that. Talking about my upcoming class today. I have one starting at 9, and it's going to be a little bit just more of a chill class. So my classes, I have a couple flows on the site, but most of them are more of the chill ones, and people have been really enjoying that because life can get pretty crazy, and we're moving a lot, we're training a lot. Even for everyone, if it's not jiu-jitsu, we'll still be, some of us doing runs and kettlebells. And even if you're not training a lot, these are still really nice. Today's class will be the focus of hips and hamstrings. So both of those. And I have my jiu-jitsu belt. It's an option to use it today. But some of my favorite stretches, I'll show you the belt, that we'll be moving through with slower held poses. And this is like a crash course, is starting on all fours and stepping the foot to the outside of the hand. This is really great for the back hip, opening up and stretching the back hip, because so often the legs are bent, the hips are bent in jiu-jitsu, whether you're in mount, guard, side control, those legs are bent. So this is a really nice stretch for that. Oh, an elbow blow in my bicep. You know what, Paul? You have an elbow, it just sounds like you might have, it's just sore. It just sounds like you might have hurt that bicep. And I would say for now, it might be good to leave it, just let it heal, give it a little bit of time. So it sounds like it's kind of recent. Hey, you're a savage on those mats. So it sounds like it's kind of recent, and I would say just leave, but you can also stretch other areas surrounding. You know what you could try, which might be nice to bring some blood flow. So we'll take a little break from me talking about my class. Try with your elbow. You can start in Sphinx, elbows under the shoulders for the lower back, and then with the left hand, or whatever hand that you hurt the elbow on, you can move it to a goalpost arm. So elbows out past the shoulder, walk the fingers up, and then just stretch, pushing to the opposite side. So this will stretch the shoulder, but this might be really nice to just stretch the surrounding muscles to maybe bring some blood flow. So that's a really nice one for the front of the shoulder. And then if that doesn't hurt, if it does bother it, then just leave it for a few more days and then come back to this. And the other one, which might be nice, is stretching the outside of the arm too. I find, especially if I'm doing a lot of boxing and stuff, stretching the outside of the arm is nice. They get really tight. So go back to your goalpost arms, and then we're going to pretend it's your left bicep. I somehow think it might be your right because everyone's like right-handed. So bring that left arm underneath, palm up, and instead of falling to the side, make the torso centered on the ground. And that's a really nice stretch through the outside of the shoulder. And you can bring the other arm forward, or you can cross the arms. So those might be really nice. A few more ones that are a bit more, and that's really nice actually opener. I think everybody should be doing that because in jiu-jitsu we're always so forward, right? It's just the nature of the beast. So that's such a nice shoulder opener. We need to make sure to reverse that so we're not all old people by the time we're 90 right here drinking our coffee. You know, I always see them with a hunched up back. So that's a great one. Let's all do it with Paul. And then the other one that's really nice just for movement is sitting tall and really just bringing the arms back. So instead of being loose and not doing much, goalpost arms, so elbows in line with the shoulders, and pulling the shoulder blades together behind you. So sitting nice and tall and pulling the shoulder blades together and down. So activating between the shoulder blades as if you wanted to put your shoulder blades in your back pockets. You probably won't, because then we'd have a different set of issues, wouldn't we? But pulling the shoulder blades together and down, and they'll activate through the back and the back of the shoulders. So that'll be really nice. So you can try those, and none of that really goes too close to the bicep, but it might bring some blood flow close to it. It doesn't really affect the bicep. It'll bring blood flow like kind of close to it, which would be nice if it doesn't hurt. And if it does, give it a few more days. So everyone used to be doing shoulder stretches. I'm trying to undo years and years and years and years of not stretching. So it takes a little while to get flexible, but man, when you get that balance of stretching, it feels so good. So send any more questions you have in. And yeah, like I was talking about, even here, I'm sitting with the knees bent. So in jiu-jitsu, they're so often bent. And it's important to balance that because we need to be balanced, right? It's the way life goes. Like you don't want to have too much or too little of one thing. If you have balance, you can get away without balance. When you have it, it's so great. So yeah, the first one is that lizard. So on all fours for the hips. And just bring your favorite foot to the outside of your favorite hand. If you want more of a stretch, use the back foot to pull that hip back, and you'll feel a stretch through the front hip. And the other place you'll probably feel a stretch if it's tight is through the inside of this hip. And that's really important. Those adductors, if you want a fancy word, which nobody cares about, is when you're closing the guard. You ever have someone in your guard and you just squeeze them? They're just kind of irritating you. Kind of be a dick and you squeeze them under the ribs. That's the adductors, squeeze them under the ribs. So, but they do a lot of work in jiu-jitsu, the inside of those legs. They do a lot of work. So if you find you're jumping into this stretch, it's because we're stretching those muscles that do so much work. Then you can just stay here for a bit. And the next place I like to go is walking the hands back to straighten or almost straighten that front leg. And it tends to be pretty intense with that hamstring because so often those legs are bent like we talked about. So we're doing really 3 things in one pose, which is super cool. We're stretching the front of the back hip, so you can stay here for a while. We're stretching the right hip, which is inside the right hip, which is, again, so many reasons why that's important. And then you walk the hands back and we're stretching the hamstrings. So that could be an entire yoga class, but that's what we'll be doing today in my class. And even here, with the foot to the outside of the hand, that's like open guard. So watch this. Foot to the outside of the hand, then I go on my back and I've got the foot to the outside of the hand. So if we can be on our back and make our guard go from here, or this to be the range of motion all the way to here, that makes a big difference. And some people actually, when I'm warm, you can go up even further, but the bigger you can make the guard, the more effective that it will be. So that's a really great, really great stretch we'll be doing today. And let me know. You guys can shoot any questions in. I've just got exciting stuff to tell you. And the next one is quad stretches. So we moved through the hips, we moved through the front of the hips, inside of the hips, and the hamstrings. This next one, which is really good. Thanks for joining. Rabbi's, I don't know how to pronounce the names. Like, thanks for sharing. I'm like, thanks for joining, you guys. So the next one is looping the belt around the foot, around your favorite foot, and then taking it behind you. Now, not that unlike the last position. It's a little bit cumbersome to get into, but sometimes life is cumbersome. Boom. So now I've got my foot posted. I've got actually, there goes better in frame. The opposite hand posted, and I'm really pulling the heel forward. So that's a really good stretch through the front of the hip, and it targets more of the quad. And that quad is a massive muscle group that, again, we use a lot, especially in jiu-jitsu. Like, how many times have I been working on standing guard passes or standing guard breaks, and then I'm like, oh, my quad. So again, it's really important to stretch that and balance that. So I stretch. We have Ruben here. I stretch for 20 to 30 minutes a day, and you rest when you feel sore every day. Okay, good. And I do hamstring and hip stretches mainly. Is there any other body parts I'm missing specifically for guard play and BJJ? So you know what, Ruben, you know what other stretch might be really good if you're not already doing it. So that's amazing. We have the stretches I talked about. I imagine you're already doing some of those. The next one is on your back, hips above the knees. Bring the hips to the side and reach the other arm up and over. And what this does is it increases the range of motion through the spine, right? So you do a lot of work in the hips. So it'll stretch the outside of the hips really nicely. And then it'll churn the torso. And the reason why this is really good is if you've got this, if you have this, not only like, so I have two thoughts. The one is obviously increasing the range of motion, but then sometimes it's also good to move through that windshield wiper exercise, left and right side, which strengthens, and then holding in the spinal twist lengthens, because if we're going into really powerful scissor sweeps, we have the rotation of the hips, right? We're constantly having the rotation of the hips, and we need this to be open. It's not just in scissor sweeps. That's really often. Or if we're going in, from the guard, moving into the bum sweeps, boom. So to have the rotation and looseness in the torso, I think is really commonly missed, and it's really, really important. So that spinal twist is one really nice way to do it. Another way to get that rotation through the torso in a way that feels good is grabbing your jiu-jitsu belt, looping around your favorite foot, and bringing it across the body. So that's another really nice one too. This one will target more of the outside of the hip. And the one I just talked about, you can have both knees on top and over, or one knee down. This one targets more of the spine with a little bit of the outside of the hip. But if you're not doing that, try that, because that rotation, and the reason why I appreciate that so much is because the rotation to the spine, I was actually doing when I was really competing a lot back in 1962 when the world was open. I was competing so much and doing so many things on the right side. I actually started to get really jammed up, and it really affected how I did my jiu-jitsu and stuff. And so I went to my physio, and they're like, "You're really jammed up." So as soon as I started unjamming everything, it was really good. I also created a video last week. You'll find it under Yoga for Exhausted, side stretches, to get to unjamming that, because the torso is right above that guard, and you'll find it's all connected. So question, do you stretch every day for 30 minutes? You know what? I actually do right now. I'm going through my advanced yoga teacher training, and so I'm at about 2 to 3 hours every day because it's like a workshop and we're learning and then we flow and then I do my own practice. So I'm at about 2 to 3 hours every day. And then if I find that, and that's a lot, like that's almost at the point of diminishing returns of too much, but this is stuff I'm really interested in. I really want to learn. You might call me a yoga geek, but I really love how yoga connects to jiu-jitsu. It's just so interesting. So I guess the answer is yes, I do. Usually I'll do an hour. That's like normal. And minimum I'll try to do 30 minutes. So that's perfect. That's amazing you're doing that. That's actually quite a long time to do 30 minutes a day. Oh, stretch to bend your knee as much as possible. So does your knee, it's not COVID guys, don't worry. So does your knee bend, or did you have an injury in the knee and it won't bend down? Or what's going on there, Ruben? So does adding coffee to your cream hurt your guard retention? You know what? I was actually out of coffee cream today. So I had to toughen up and have it black. I'll let you know. I'll let you know, Scott. I don't know yet, but we're about to find out. So it's really interesting you ask that. It's like you somehow know. I love your channel. Lots of good stuff for my hips and shoulders. Sore arm, I'm super glad. I need to maybe give you some stuff for your arms too. Sore arm, what a great name. Yeah, thanks for joining us. It's just awesome how much we're helping out these jiu-jitsu people. It makes such a big difference for me too. Basically, where I'm coming from is I want to have people to train with forever. So I'm like, okay, we got to get everyone really flexible and everyone doing yoga and injury prevention and movement. Okay, it already bends fine, but I thought maybe I can increase the range of motion from shin to shin passing perhaps. Oh yeah, you know what, Ruben? Yeah, if your knees are already bending here, probably won't go much more. And the reason why I'm just asking is I've had people with knee surgeries that can't bend that far, like for a while after my surgery, like that's as far as I can go. So if you're able to bend this much, you probably won't go further unless we get crazy. And for example, you externally rotate your hip to the outside of the foot. Now I'm going further because my thigh isn't in the way, but I don't really see much point to be doing that. Oh, you do kickboxing and jiu-jitsu. Good for you. Used to do Ashtanga yoga, and you love revisiting those good deep stretches. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's so true. Like just going crazy with all those stretches, the training, and then every now and the flows, and that's the kind of stuff that I like. Is like I'm like, let's do everything in the whole entire world in one day, and then I'm like, oh, I need to visit the deep stretches today. It's like you're like a little puppy dog, go and crash. I know I do that. All right, everybody, I need to get ready for my class. You know what? I got one more question here. You have a problem with your ankle. Every time you bend forward, which stretch is good for it? So I need a bit more information. You know what? If I got to jump off, I'll still comment on the thread here and help and answer. Okay. So you have a problem every time you bend forward. So is it like this that you're bending forward, or what's going on there? I need more. There's so many places that ankle could be in bending forward. So I need a bit more information, and then we can have fun and troubleshoot it. I have fun troubleshooting it. Okay, so give a bit more information, and then I got to jump off, but I'll comment on the thread on Facebook. All right, everybody, thank you very much for joining me today, and I'll be seeing you next time.